What's up? I'm back again. I got a mic. I moved. Lots has changed. Lots has changed. But also at the same time, not a whole lot has changed. It's the way of the world. The world keeps spinning. That's all I got to say. I'm Pluto. This is Picking My Brain number 5. And I think today I wanted to talk primarily, that's a bad word, primarily about plutocracy as being another source of inspiration for my name, Pluto. Plutocracy and pretty much what it means, what I feel like, why I feel like it's so important, and why I feel like no one knows this word, but it so accurately defines the world we live in now. I just point blank period. I think that is super important, and not a lot of people are paying enough attention to it. So first things first, I will do the little and we're gonna get down to my screen real quick. All right. So plutocracy, I pulled up the Google definition: government by the wealthy, country or society governed by the wealthy. So, or plutocracies. So, like, I kind of am of the opinion that I am kind of the opinion that we live in a planetary plutocracy. So, name a country. Name one. I want anyone to name one in my comments that does not have corruption in their government, where wealth does not impact how laws are made. And I would say the global hegemonic structure, America is, it's kind of the defining thing for the world. And honestly, it's way too bright behind me. Give me one moment. Oh, yeah, that's way better. You can see me, see the world. Maybe my hat. Yeah, this in between takes. Yeah, so America is what I think. I live in America. I think a lot of people who use the internet, even kids who live or on the internet a lot, they're either in probably the Philippines or America. I mean, people around the world use the internet, but just those are the two countries that use it the most. And I think in the Philippines, you totally know this with your recent election and how people can pay Facebook and buy a positive opinion about themselves through false advertising or through, but that's just societal manipulation. I'm talking about how laws are made, who they impact, who impacts them the most. And when you look at, I'm going to speak from American perspective, not from a Filipino perspective, because I'm not Filipino. I'm American. I'm a little white dude in America. So, I think that America is a plutocracy. I don't think we're a democracy really anymore. We lost our democracy since 1917. We started locking up commies because of the Espionage Act. And some people would say it's before martial law, but I don't know. Martial law seems kind of, I don't know. When shit goes crazy, I don't know. But let me get back on track. A plutocracy is a government by the wealthy. And when you look at who actually has the most impact on what laws are made in our government, it's wealthy people. Corporations, our whole Congress is bought and paid for except for Bernie. And I think this is especially visible in campaign finance and how politicians run their society just to get reelected, right? So campaign finance, if I get a lot of money, like Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, either of them, if I get a lot of money, I can run a lot of ads, I can make the public perception of me higher just through visibility. Because we have a society where everything and everyone is visible, visibility takes money to attain. Almost anything takes money to attain, but um, especially in today's politics. Money is the most important thing, and obviously, I think that plutocracy is a better way of putting it than oligarchy. When Russia was invading Ukraine, which they still are, hope and peace and love to Ukraine. Hope you guys are doing better. You will win. I support you guys, except for maybe Azov Battalion, but that's a whole nother story. Excuse me. When they were invading Ukraine, everyone came down on their oligarchs, which is just wealthy Russians. Well, you have to ask the question, if wealthy Russian oligarchs, are wealthy Americans American oligarchs? And what makes wealth tied to power in a society that should be run as a democracy? That's the question. All right. And then you get into it and you're like, well, who would be those people pulling the strings in the background? Well, I think it's pretty obvious. I would really recommend, let me find this documentary really quickly. What's it called? Inside Job. This is the one. I'm not... Ooh. I don't have COVID. I think it's just allergies or whatever. But this, let me. Whoa. Okay. This documentary, Inside Job, really goes into this kind of feeling of being a plutocracy. Like, really, like it does. Not much else. It expresses this. I watched this and it really changed my perspective on things. But it shows how even in our financial sector, which is like the most important. I mean, money rules the world. It's a plutocracy, but money rules the world. Even in our financial sector, where they make financial laws, things are corrupt. There's a revolving door between the Fed, between working congressmen, between financial advisors for huge companies. There's a way too much of a revolving door there where, I mean, in my opinion, we had one of the worst decisions that could have been made back in the 80s was made. We repealed the Glass-Steagall Act, and that was just a little history lesson. I will pull up the Wikipedia for the Glass-Steagall Act. But Glass-Steagall legislation was put in place after what historical event? I'll give you 5 seconds to maybe think of an answer. The Great Depression. Why was the Glass-Steagall Act put in place after the Great Depression? Why? Well, because it was found that when banks have the ability to use their depositors' money in commercial investing, so there's a difference between when banks just hold your money and use your money to invest in more like commercial. There was no separation between a commercial bank and an investment bank. And so that creates this incentive for all banks to become investment banks with normal people's money, right? And so the Glass-Steagall Act prevented that and made it to where you either had to be an investment bank or you had to be a commercial bank. And it created a division there which needed to be created, which stopped big banks from being able to use their, what's the word? Depositors' money on random investments on Wall Street. So when there's a Wall Street crash, everyone doesn't lose money. We don't all go into the shitter. Just the companies do. But right now, and then hi, this is editing Pluto as we're watching this and seeing what I said because I was kind of just rambling. But I think I do make a good point here. I guess what I wanted to say that I kind of forgot was this act was put in after the Great Depression, where we should have learned our lesson, where there was a huge crash on, guess what, Wall Street, and Wall Street had a gigantic crash that affected everybody because our banks were involved in commercial investing, and when Wall Street crashed, everybody lost their money. There was a run on the banks. It created huge financial disaster, and our global financial system pretty much exploded because of this. Thus, we put in a Glass-Steagall Act. That is important for what I'm going to say later, because we repealed the Glass-Steagall Act, but don't let me get ahead of myself. I just wanted to put in that the Great Depression, the reason why the Great Depression is so important is because it was one of the worst crashes we've ever experienced, one of the most hard and difficult times in America, period. People were starving on the street. It was just bad. We can't even imagine it. Living in the 21st century, I can't even imagine it. But it's important. It's important to know that that's why the Glass-Steagall. I kind of look like a little lizard person. Little lizard, hooded little lizard figure. Okay, I'll let past Pluto keep talking, but I just wanted to slit that in there really quickly. Yes, the Glass-Steagall Act is important because it was right after the Great Depression. It was the first piece of financial legislation that helped everyday people and restore trust in banks post Great Depression. All right, that's the end of my story. Thank you for listening. So that separated that, and I don't have any of the graphs pulled up, but if you look, that seems to be right before the golden age. World War II definitely helped with that, but right before the golden age, the 50s, 60s, 70s, obviously there's some racial stuff there that I don't really want to address right now, but it is true. There was a lot of racist stuff going on in that period in time, but when you talk about financially, people gaining wealth, and the American dream, being alive somewhat, people being asleep to the American dream, in George Carlin's words, that was during the 50s, 60s, 70s, right? Did the military-industrial complex have something to do with the speed up of our economy during World War II? Yes. Did acts like Social Security and federal housing and things like that help? Yes, they definitely helped the economy. And what was that act that was right after World War II where he gave a bunch of people free college and free free housing and shit? But it was, of course, not for black people, which creates generational inequality and systemic inequality. But yeah, seriously, this type of movement, this type of more progressive, created the golden age. When you think of Make America Great Again, what is Trump trying to go back to? He's trying to go back to when he was a kid. How old is Trump? Trump's 74, or I think he's older than that now, but he was 74. What 70 years ago was? It was the 50s. Oh my gosh, he was a real estate guy in the 50s. All this housing was going up. He was making all this money. That's it. And when we forget about our history, we go down the drain. And we're going down the drain right now, but I guess we'll see. Fascism is rising. Alt-right fascism is rising. People are forgetting that the Nazis were bad. Maybe Nazis are bad. That's all I gotta say. But back to what I was saying. Obviously, the Glass-Steagall Act had an impact on financial stability because we didn't see a large crash. We saw, and again, I don't think that we should be focusing the direction of our economy into endless growth, but we saw relative what's the word? Prosperity. Relative prosperity for a lot of people during that period. And that was because banks didn't have the ability to go into their depositors' money and use it in commercial investing. And so in the 80s, Ronald Reagan era, but it was Bill Clinton who did. I think who repealed the Glass-Steagall Act. I mean, this is what I mean. We live in a plutocracy where whether you're Democrat or Republican, it doesn't fucking matter because you're bought out and you're going to let corporations run your ass. Either way. That's what I'm trying to get across. It's like, I don't think, yes, there is a divide, decent divide between Democrats and Republicans today, culturally. But what the fuck does culture mean when you're talking about finance, material reality? And when you look at it, both parties have been bought and paid for by massive corporations, whether it be the military. Oh, sorry. I'm like trying, I've okay, whatever. I don't want to get into my warts on my hand. The military, the health insurance industry, the fucking housing, car, and power, energy industries. These things have been running our government. I mean, the last time we had a revamp in decent energy infrastructure, which again, part of the New Deal, which increased prosperity for Americans when we invested in our own country. Just an idea. These things had an impact. I think I'm just rambling. You're listening to men that ramble, men that lie. Hashtag The Sign by Nujavis, which is fucking an amazing song. But yeah, I think that when you look at it, and I think it was who repealed the Glass-Steagall. I was kidding. Who repealed Glass-Steagall? Bill Clinton did. Yes. So it is both ways. There's a cultural divide where, you know, Democrats think abortion should be whatever and Republicans think abortion should be whatever, which is stupid, and we shouldn't be focusing our fucking politics on stupid cultural shit. Which, I mean, do I have an opinion on abortion? Yes, I talked about it in a previous video. I mean, obviously, I probably lean lefter when it comes to cultural shit. But here's the thing about freedom of speech and freedom of expression and whatever. Everyone can have their own goddamn culture, and it doesn't fucking matter. I mean, unless your culture is literally, my culture says I should go kill people who are different cultures. Like, that's kind of fucked up, right? But you can be whoever the fuck you want to be. Like, you're a human being. We're humans beings. Whatever. All I want to say is plutocracy is a government run by the wealthy. And right now, do you see any everyday American people in our government? Or is it just wealthy people? Because when I look at what, it doesn't matter across this fucking board, except for Bernie and AOC, across the board, Nancy Pelosi is doing insider trading using the knowledge she has of the government and how it affects businesses to make a profit. That's our fucking head of Senate. But then at the same time, it's not like the Republicans are doing anything better. They're trading arms stocks. All I'm saying is that if there was, in a plutocracy where our government is run by wealth, the only shot that everyday people have at creating prosperity for themselves and creating generational change, like real change that impacts everybody, is when there's a crash. Because that's when their power decreases. And we actually recognize, even though we feel the brunt of the pain, obviously, we recognize how they affect us. It might bring a little class consciousness, that's all I'm saying. Other than that, that's just picking my brain on plutocracy, number 5. I think that it's important to maybe get this out, get the word out. I mean, the root word of it is Pluto. Just an idea, but please check out my Instagram. I'm starting to do new kind of art. I just got an iPad, so I'm going to start drawing and do digital art. But I do a lot of like pencil paper art, and my goal is to create a peaceful planet. I mean, there's so many humans living on this one. It's easy to imagine Pluto, just some one human out on Pluto who's speculating about America, or about the world, the Earth, right? And how we have money and oil and military fucking running our governments, our democratic governments, when it should be us. We the people, right? We the people. And we can stay asleep and keep dreaming the American dream, or we can wake up and actually fucking do something about it. And that's my perspective. I just wanted to share that with everybody. I mean, peace and love, y'all.
Quality base here. The Eagle has landed.